So I've been playing Yakuza 5. Oh my, how could I possibly have ended up here in
nondescript African country?
Oh hey, it's some rare African tree goats. Yes, hello. We have summoned you. What? We want you to review the game of Yakuza 5. Yakuza 5. I mean, you could have just left a comment like everyone else instead of teleporting me all the way out to fucking Africa. Africa. Yakuza 5 is the 5th game in Toshihiro Nagoshi's legendary Yakuza series. Why? Well, I mean, fucking look at him. Dude's easily the dev most likely to be a member of the Yakuza himself. He's just spreading the good word. Anyway, considering that I've reviewed the past 4 games and 1 spin-off, I think I can get away with summarizing the basics. So, beat 'em up, random encounters, big story, and a small but hugely dense open world. You get the points and the RPG upgrade systems, and you can dick around town to do whatever like baseballing, taxiing, and bear punching. But this time the whole thing is spread out across 5 stories that unlock chronologically, and instead of 1 or 2, a total of 5 fully explorable districts, all with their own unique atmosphere just as well. I'll go over what all of these offer individually in a sec, cause them shits is pretty distinctive. But first, I'd like to lay out the general changes and improvements overall. Like the combat being slightly more elegant once again, as the soft lock-on and the player directing that comes with it force you to kinda slide on over to the nearest target, making it so that you don't go off punching the air as much. It is still one of the bigger buzzkills of the series, but I at least appreciate them being aware of that and chipping away at it without forcing any major revisions. Additionally, the random encounters are also a lot faster, foregoing the pre-battle trash talking and the post-battle apologetics in favor of a quick and snappy transition with wee but a logo signifying fights. Of course, you do get to see them boys groveling at your feet. It's not like the characterized benefits of the battle banter are gone completely, and yeah, just the fighting in general feels a lot more dynamic already. The days of grabbing a dude and slowly carrying him to the nearest contextual heat move trigger are all but gone, as just about anything can be used to smash face, and the heat bar needed to do so charges up faster than you can say ability systems that have been dumbed down and simplified to just a simple list with 4 entries, making it the most straightforward it has ever been. You punch the man, get the points, select the one you want, progress. Ah, I see. Ahem. You there? We have made a mistake. We wanted you to actually review the game of Resident Evil 5, not Yakuza 5. Oh, well, that would explain the Africa thing. Yes, indeed. Please see to it that you review Resident Evil 5 instead. Yakuza 5. I mean, it's a bit late for that now. We were just about to cut to the next. Uncle Kazuma kicks off our African adventure proper, this time as a jaded and depressed taxi driver. He's left behind his clan to figure out their own shit for once, which goes about as well as one would expect. And his not daughter, but also kind of daughter, has gone off to be a pop star, leaving the orphanage in potentially questionable hands. So he spends his days kicking up funds by driving his car through the lovely Nagasugai district, a slightly more suburban area with less hustle, bustle, and gangbangage, and roads of the car-friendly varieties. And yeah, It's actually kinda neat. A bit sensitive on the steering end perhaps, but the Simis nature of the driving with casual banter aplenty is surprisingly engaging. See, the town itself is but a wee grid, so rides end up being short and you won't ever get lost either, thus allowing one to focus on how you drive rather than where you're driving to. Which is important as well, as you do actually need to mind shit like the blinkers, how fast you take off from a standstill, the traffic lights, pedestrians, and all manner of things a real person in the back of a death cab would be concerned about.
Hey, come on over, have some fun with Crazy Taxi! Yeah!
It wouldn't be a SEGA game though if the taxi wasn't going to get crazy at some point, which in this case results in Eurobeat-driven street races with Daytona drifting and heat speed boosts, and basically I love this series and it is the best one. Nakasugai is a nice place in any case. As much as I love the grim and grimy Kamurocho, it's nice to have a polar opposite for once. The signs aren't as flashy, the buildings are all bright and white, and all of it's accompanied by friendly little beige and pink walkways and trees and grass and canals to nature shit up proper. It's just very clean, I guess. So much so even that there's an additional minigame about picking up stray trash dropped by those visiting the cute little stands in traditional corner shops. Shit's wholesome as fuck. Which is why it's important that Uncle Kaz does take out his old fisties from time to time to take care of anyone who might disturb the peace. Combat heavy, this chapter is not. It's more so about the street races than anything, but when you do bust skulls and trample dicks, you do so in a manner similar to how you've always done. In fact, I'm pretty sure Kazuma fights exactly as how he did in Yakuza 4, with his heavy but fast, simple button combos and his brutally cathartic heat move finishers. Which, honestly, is fine. If it ain't dick, don't fuck it. Plus, it's not like he doesn't get any new heat moves at all either. Like, I don't think I've ever seen him drag face over pavement before, and he can even unleash the dragon now through using his heat as a type of devil trigger witch mode. It's all pretty darn peachy. Back again from Yakuza 4, it's Seijima the prison boy. How to become a burnt and blackened piece of pork. His words, not mine. He says that anyway in reference to him sitting out his 2 remaining years of jail time. Willingly, obviously, because Yakuza honor and stuff, though it should not need noting that shit goes horribly wrong, prompting him to go on a snowy wild man bear punching adventure. His special gimmick is the fact that he D2s shit up proper by going out hunting game, which, much like the taxi driving, is fleshed out to the point where one can easily spend hours playing it. Stealthing around the fairly large map, sneaking up on a deer, taking aim as you hear that heartbeat pump up as you slowly zoom in, and bang! Also, he ends up taking a trip to the Tsukimino district just as well. An equally snowy winter wonderland with many a cozy alleyway and wholesome shopping street. Big business is the vibe that I got from it most of all. Large, towering, formal office buildings look out over the massive car-filled roads as if an uptown contrast to the outdoorsman stylings of the previous chunk of his chapter. I'm honestly kinda blown away by how much one-off shit they've managed to cram into this one. I mean, sure, I knew that shit would be big, but not like spend 10 hours within a single area big. Like, Jesus. In any case, dude fights much like what he did in 4, just more betterer. So, he's still a big slow dude who charges his attacks via holding down button, making any enemy that blocks or move quick a right bitch to deal with, and he's also able to still pick up large objects, which is as amazingly cathartic as always. He is a tad faster though. His charge attacks are far more explosive, actually lunging out at dudes, and his ability to pick up bigs also involves swinging around entire live human beings, which I could never get enough of. Not quite my favorite boy by any means, but unlike 4, I wasn't frustrated playing as him. Or at least not due to his combat style. This time the fuckness was brought on by the fact that you spend a full 3 hours of his story stuck in fuck. Walking back and forth across the same fucking prison yard, talking to the same 4 or 5 dudes over and over. No fights, no fun, just dick. And don't get me wrong, I get why they did this and how it builds up his character, as well as properly introducing some new guys who I'm groomed to loathe and love for sure, but this payoff comes at a hefty fucking price, being the joys of actual jail time. Look at that! That's the face of joy! Haruka is the girl Kazuma had been taking care of since the first game. We watched her grow from a sassy sad child into a strong, caring, daring pop idol. Her gameplay is rhythm game. You still get to walk around and do the things, just instead of random combat dudes, you get dance battles by way of something similar to those Miku games what SEGA makes as well. Just a lot more simplistic, as we wouldn't want the tough boys who normally play Yakuza to feel uncomfortable, now would we? So yeah, the button goes towards a circle, and once there you button said button. If you button good, you get points used to upgrade to do button even better, and in the Yakuza spirit of things, you also have pop idol heat, which sounds Java as fuck, but I ain't complaining. Where upon activation, each button earns you even more points. Not to mention the better circumstantial form of this called Climax Heat. In any case, there's two main modes of button, the performances and the battles. During battle, you need to press button as shown on a direction that also needs to be pressed, and the performances are about as basic as they look, in that you just button. Essentially, if you can keep a beat, then you'll A or S rank most of these bitches no problem. Once again though, shit's incredibly fleshed out to the point of it pretty much being its own goddamn game. This time taking place within the rowdy, grimy, but colorful Sotenbori district modeled after Osaka. Containing canals and alleyways up the ass, as the cheap electrical wiring and the rickety old neon signs and light bulbs span up the fogged up skies proper. It, along with Kamurocho, is one of the few returning areas, and by fucko am I glad that it is. It's fitting too, given that in 2 there was a side quest that took place here involving a talent agency boss man already seeing the potential in Haruka as a pop idol, but also just because its romantically jazzy yet appropriately dark atmosphere fits her story to a T. Cause yeah, despite being all happy dance, it wouldn't be a Yakuza title if it didn't thoroughly dig into the underbelly of the pop idol world, exposing it for the Yakuza-run backstabby industry that it truly is. Even Haruka's very own anime innocence gets put up to the test as she's forced to give up every semblance of her normal 16-year-old's life. What with anything a pop idol can say or do having the ability to ruin their reputation at least. I can imagine it being a very psychologically irresponsible career choice, and the emotional blackmail, the peer pressure, and the chastisement of honest emotions by admittedly still pretty cool people highlight some pretty striking similarities between the pop idol industry and the Yakuza tier organized crime. Not at all where I expected them to take this, but I'm certainly still glad that they did. Also returning from Yakuza the 4th is Senior Loan Shark the Best Girl, Akiyama. Dude just opened up a brand new branch of his shark lending business right in the middle of cozy Sotenbori, and it's going very well. His chapter is mixed in with Haruka's, making for frequent switching and less of an all-out dance revolution. It doesn't really have a gimmick per se, other than that there's some murder mystery detectivo work going on, but truth be told, none of that really affects the fact that he fights just like how he did in 4. So, fast, agile, and a fuckload of fun. New additions being the rather amazing aerial combat, allowing him to launch motherfuckers up into the air, juggling them around like you just don't care. Shit's fucking excellent, honestly. Dude's easily my favorite character to play as, and I don't really have much to say other than that. So I guess now would be a good time to note that the upgrade system generally picks up right where you would have left off at the end of 4. Or at least you technically start off at square one, but due to it being as streamlined and quick as it is, it only takes about 1 or 2 big battles to get your snuffs back. It is quite good, as it gives you more than enough time to acclimate to the basics whilst also not holding you back given what you were already used to. It's something that this series has always done quite well, to be honest, but when you're dealing with this many characters, it becomes even more impressive that that's still the case here. Holy shit, it new character. His name is Shinada. He's a top tier baseball player who's seen some better days. He's dick high in debt, a bunch of people want his ass dead, all the while he's busy oversleeping trying to make a living as an adult entertainment writer within the Kineicho district, which is pretty much just a sketchy red light district. Or so is Kamurocho, let's be fair, but Kamurocho is like bit business sketchy, and Kineicho is like bottom of the barrel sketchy. The storefronts and buildings are tainted with gunk, the roads are a fucking mess, the streets are covered in garbo, and its inhabitants are super duper casual and kinda rude by Japanese standards. All of which make it the perfect place for Mr. Wifebee and Bedhair over here, though it does have a much nicer park-like area, setting it apart just a wee smidge more. Anyhow, his fighting style is baseball-based. Dude's apt at dealing with weapons, gaining loads of upgrades set around stealing people's shit and using it against them, as well as a curious amount of upgrades revolving around being drunk. So, naturally, I spent most of my time boozed up off my ass swinging around traffic cones. It's pretty cool, honestly, how much his personality actually seeps into his overall playstyle. Even to the point of you actually spending his entire story being broke. Yeah, you don't get any cash at the end of battles, thus forcing you to consider how much damage you can handle, not to mention rationing your booze good. For some reason, right before the final stretch, the game decided it wanted to be a drunk man comedy. Shinada alone is one goofy motherfucker, but all of the other old pervy dudes who follow him around due to all the cash he owns them make for quite the entertaining cast. Dude's like naive in a way too, not quite aware of the sheer gravity of shit that he's in, all the while those around him get more and more fed up with the shit in question with every interaction, whilst also still caring about him in a sense. It's heartwarming, funny, and much like Haruka's dance-off fiesta and Seijima's animal gun bang, not at all where I expected the game to go. If there's one thing that stood out to me through all of this, it's that Yakuza 5 has transcended the beat-em-up. I guess you could argue if these games were really ever about the combat per se, and to me at least it certainly wasn't my most favorite aspect, despite it making me feel like I could suplex a mountain at times. But here, more so than any of the others, it excels at being a great dicking around Japan simulator. The hunting, the dancing, the taxi driving, and the whole host of other distractions overtook the combat to such a point where I literally spent entire 4-hour play sessions doing nothing but. The hunting especially took me by surprise with how into it I got. It kinda made me realize why not just this series, but this entry's side quests and distractions especially are so bleeding incredible. Being the characters. The bear banging, for example, isn't just a minigame where you shoot bears in forest. There's like an entire wee mountain town attached to it with its own little side stories and drama. You get taken in by some old dude who gets built up proper, as nice yet tragically sad as he's hated by the rest of the village. See, when he arrived, he may or may not have accidentally brought along an ancient demon bear who promptly fucked everyone up. Yet, despite him not wanting to admit it, he stays around afterwards indebted to the townsfolk, keeping them safe, as well as seeking some bear revenge due to it having killed a friend of his. And Seijima, having been saved by this old dude from said demon bear, starts to feel the same way. And as did I. As shit was just written so goddamn adorably that it became impossible not to get invested. And luckily, all of the main side quests are of a similar caliber. Like, there's a famous chef guy who you can show around each town, thus incentivizing restaurantage. There's returning cuties like Mac the photo blocksman, and shit like the people at Haruka's talent agency who are nice and caring but also woefully caught up in the industry's shitty side, making shit hella tragic. And the boss of Kazuma's taxi company, who's like the nicest man ever. I'll make it rather easy to start giving out match shits. It's not just a silly game with minigames. It is a living, breathing world with living, breathing people. In a sense, the distractions went from being condiments to the main combat course to just a straight up meal all on their own. It is genuinely that great. And that's not even saying anything about the main fucking plot, which is super duper grounded compared to 4, thank fuck. There's no convoluted displays of profound villainy this time around, as it focuses on confronting our main cast not with their Yakuza past, but with their actions present. All the while, the clans are falling apart as mysterious traitors and schemers are pulling the strings. It is so fucking good. Not perfect by any means. It's still kind of janky, the frame rate could have been higher, and there are a few bits like the prison that really do drag on quite a fair bit, but in the end, when everything comes together with payoffs aplenty, it's hard not to see this as easily being the height of the franchise so far. Well, second to Yakuza Dead Souls at least.